poo-poo time.
KOKW calling. Come in.
What is good, YouTube? It's your boy Jason Bartolis, aka Casper, bringing you another crazy video. So I've actually been doing a lot of thinking recently, and what if all these phenomenons that people are seeing all across the world, like UFOs or the Mandela effect, ghosts, aliens, time travel, what if they all intertwine and have something to do with each other? So I actually wanted to make this video and just do a little bit of freestyle, mind-boggling, maybe to come up with something to blow your mind. Like, for example, in 2016 and 2017, they were actually really big years for the Mandela effect and UFO disclosure. Our government actually came out and released gunshot footage from F-16s actually chasing down and recording UFOs, and they actually came out in the Washington Post and the New York Times and actually said, yes, UFOs are indeed real. We don't know what they are, but they are here. So nonetheless, our government, they actually know something is going on, and they are giving us soft disclosure because they know something is about to happen on our planet. Now, what is that? What is actually getting ready to happen that is scaring our government to shit, that they actually came forth with some sort of soft disclosure, and every day they are releasing more and more evidence of this phenomenon that is happening all around the globe. Now, like I said, in 2016 and 2017 were huge years. Not only in 2016 the Mandela effect started erupting and really started blossoming in 2017, but they also released the blueprints for the TR-3B. Now, that is essentially the triangle UFO that people have witnessed for decades flying over our Earth's atmosphere, and they actually say that that is our machine. Now, if we created something so spectacular like that, and it's not using the typical propulsion system that everyone wants to think of, like rockets, no, this thing is actually using electronic pulse generator type propulsion system to elevate itself, basically anti-gravity. Now, this whole Mandela effect thing, how did it end up occurring? Did we actually back engineer alien technologies, something that actually crashed in Roswell during the 60s? Did we back engineer it and actually find out that it's actually a time machine? Is that how they travel through space and time? They could essentially just put themselves in any direction and, travel through time to get to point A to point B, or open wormholes, or, teleport themselves, or something along that lines. Now, if we did back engineer these UFOs, how did we get the technology? Where did this technology come from? It obviously had to come from either a different dimension, or it came from a different planet. And what if we actually used this machine to actually create a paradox in the timeline that we actually were supposed to be heading towards, and shifted ourselves towards a different timeline? What if you actually went back through time? Just traveling back through time could create a paradox, because, for example, you're not supposed to be in that time period. So if you go back in through time and somebody even just sees you, that can create a paradox, because you were never supposed to exist in that timeline. So by somebody actually seeing you, they could stop and look at you because they think you look weird, like you have a printed shirt that never been made, or you have a name or a sports team on your shirt, and it made somebody stop in their tracks. Just by them stopping for 1 second could actually change the whole course of time as you know it, because you were never supposed to be there. That person was never supposed to stop on his or her course. They were supposed to continue walking, go do what they were supposed to do, and therefore this is the future we know. But by you going back in through time and that person stopped, you stopped them for a minute, a second, creating a paradox that could actually disrupt the future. So little things have started to change, and we actually created the Mandela effect ourselves just because we used this machine and went back in through time. And we realized that because when we came back, we were like, oh shit, look how different everything is. But we didn't want to go back through time and try to change it again, so we kind of just left it where it was. So now we are essentially living on a different timeline just because we used this machine. And now, since we back engineered this machine and we created a paradox, now people are remembering certain events from the original timeline that we were supposed to be heading towards. But since we created the Mandela effect, this new paradox, people have these false memories, but they really aren't so false after all, are they? And since we are using this back-engineered machine, which we have the blueprints of the TR-3B to prove so, does that also mean that the crash in Roswell really happened? I would think yes, it did happen. The government had to cover it up because they didn't want the Soviets to know exactly what we had or what we were up to or what our future would hold. Because you remember, the Cold War was happening. But where did these machines come from? And they say that we found creatures in this crash. Where did they come from? How were they made? Are they also part of this computer program that we are supposedly living in? So, back in the 70s, a researcher and an author by the name of Philip K. Dick was the first person to come forth with the notion that we are indeed living in a computer simulation, therefore opening up people's minds, getting them out of the box, and further researching that we are indeed living in a computer simulation. And a scientist by the name of Sylvester James Gates further researched this and came up with his own hypothesis, and he actually says he was looking at a set of pictures of equations related to string theory to explain the universe. By looking at these pictures, he came to the realization that he was looking at binary code, but not just any binary code, a set of ones and zeros. He was looking at a special type of binary code that is explained to run your browser, first created in the 1940s by a scientist named Claude Shannon. And by looking at strands of human DNA, animal DNA, looking at atoms that they actually found writ into the fabric of space-time, they actually found binary code. Now, how else would you explain binary code in your DNA if we were not living in a computer simulation? Now, I think this is absolutely just mind-blowing. Can you actually imagine that you are living in a program like The Sims and somebody is actually changing your reality on a daily basis? Rather, that is us with back-engineered alien technology, or that is actually the maker of the computer program himself sending these entities, these aliens, to come onto our Earth plane and actually change things to create different waves in our universe. So what if these aliens are actually agents like in the Matrix and they come back? And you know, every computer program isn't perfect, it's gonna have glitches. So what if these aliens are driving these ships sent by this computer program to come to our humanity and change something and actually crashed? Therefore, we got a piece of this computer program that is called a UFO, a time machine, because what is time? It is actually computer program. It is a bits of ones and zero. Everything is ones and zeros. So what if this computer program malfunctioned and we actually got a piece of it? And what if Claude Shannon actually didn't invent binary code? He actually discovered binary code, therefore setting the path and the course of every computer browser and computer that you see. Every computer that you have in your house is ran by bits of ones and zeros. Whether you want to like it or not, you are too. Pretty freaking mind-blowing if you ask me. And who's to say what God is? What if God did make us not in a spiritual way, but in a computer binary writ into the fabric of space-time way? What if we are in God's computer program? What if God didn't make us by magic, but he actually made us by technology? He made an individual person's personality actually be a true person and be individual with your own set goals and life goals that you want to accomplish, but you are indeed independent and have your own freedom, your own free will, but who's to say what God actually is? Who's to say God is a spiritual being or he is an alien being? Either way, he is an inventor. He is a creator. He created this computer program. He probably even made us in his own image, and he made everything else in this universe, and everything is stuck in his computer. Woo, am I on a roll? But let me actually slow down here a minute and let's take a little breather. Sit back and just relax and let's absorb everything that I just said. Now it's pretty mind-blowing. I'm hoping I'm blowing your mind with my own hypothesis of everything. But what about ghosts? What exactly could ghosts be? Well, we just explained that we could be living in a computer program and aliens could actually be agents sent here. What if ghosts can actually be a cloaked form of an agent actually here changing something and he doesn't want us to observe it? Or what if it is actually you writ into the fabric of space-time? You are either seeing yourself in the future or the past. And that could also explain a lot of hauntings, paranormal activity that is happening on a daily basis in people's houses. Pretty freaking crazy, right? Yeah, I thought so. So right about now, I think it would be a good time to start looking into what exactly are dimensions. Now, scientists say there's about 12 dimensions, but what if there's actually more? What if new dimensions get created all the time? Just imagine you're living on an Earth that is covered by dimensions like layers of an onion. And let's say we are indeed living in a computer program, and let's say this computer program has to reboot itself or update itself. It has to send us somewhere. It has to keep a copy of itself so it doesn't shut down and stop to exist. So let's say each dimension could be our past, our future, or it could be the new route that the machine wants to take us to. So when you are actually seeing ghosts, you could be seeing into a different dimension. It's just a ripple in the dimensions. Therefore, you think you are seeing a poltergeist or a ghost, and sometimes these dimensions can actually interact with the dimension and plane that you are living on now, causing physical manifestations like something to fall off your shelf, or let's say you are on a different dimension, and each dimension is actually you, only shared by one soul. So every time we have to get put onto a new road, a new path, we get shoved into a new dimension that is actually you. It's not a separate you on a different dimension. It's actually you from the future or the past. So let's say that sometimes the computer, like I said, it's gonna have glitches, it's gonna malfunction. Let's say they bleed into each other and you from a different dimension is opening up a cupboard, and you on this dimension sees that cupboard open up, and you just think it's a ghost or a poltergeist, but you don't understand we were shifting to a new dimension, but this old dimension is bleeding into the new one, causing a ripple. Or let's say we could even mess with the computer program by back-engineered alien technologies and create new dimensions ourselves, therefore rewriting the computer program from its intended course. We write it to cause it to go into a different direction that the computer program wanted us to go into, therefore we can make different dimensions ourselves. Now, I think this is all pretty crazy, and I don't know what you guys think, but this is just a theory. But nonetheless, I think it's a very interesting theory, and I hope you guys are truly enjoying what I have to come up with. Now, it's just a bunch of ramble. I didn't write nothing down. I'm not reading anything. I'm just coming off with all this off the top of my brain. See, I get in these spurts in these moments, and I feel like I should sit down and record myself. So I make these great YouTube videos of crazy ideas for my viewers. And, it's also a record. I hope one day somebody in the future actually looks back and says, wow, this guy was pretty smart. He's pretty much right on point. So anyways, I am Jason Bortolis, aka Casper. Just remember, if something strange going on, well, it's really going on.